Welcome to Talking with the Experts. Here we discuss all things business by business owners for business owners. Here is your host, Rose Davidson.
Have you ever thought about entering for an award but don't think you have what it takes? Lauren Clemett is going to bust some of those myths about entering awards and put you right in the frame of mind that you need to be in to have the confidence to enter yourself and be audacious. Now, Lauren heads up the Audacious Agency. It is a premier profile building and award-winning specialist company with over 3 decades of experience in brand management and a reputation as a sought-after keynote speaker. Lauren empowers entrepreneurs and business owners to build powerful personal brands. As the brand navigator, Lauren and her team help leaders to boldly stand out from the competition and be sought after credible brand champions. Welcome, Lauren. Thank you so much for joining me here on Talking with the Experts.
Thank you for having me, Rose. I'm excited to be here.
Well, I'm so glad. Now, entering awards is challenging for most of us. We don't think we have what it takes. We don't think that we're good enough. We don't think, that we deserve the recognition after all the hard work we've put in. What do you say to that, to people who have that mindset?
Well, that's the number one question we get asked all the time is, oh, I don't know. Do you think I've done enough? Do you think, and it's such a lovely question because it comes from the heart. It's not wanting to be boastful or egotistical. So there's a really nice humbleness that comes with that. And some of the people that we've met over the years who've done incredible things and they say those same things to us and we're like, oh my God, you've done so much and you don't think that it's just unbelievable that you think this way. I call it the itty bitty shitty committee. There's little voices in your head that are on at you that you haven't done enough. It's not perfect. It's not as good as it could be. All those sorts of things that hold you back. And yes, it happens all the time. I once had a fabulous conversation on the phone with a lovely lady. Her name's Jenny, and she's given me permission to share her story. And I said, "Oh, what are you thinking about going for awards for? What's?" And she said, "Oh, I'm in an industry that's quite male dominated, and I think I've got the right to stand out. I'd like to be seen a bit more as a bit more of an influencer and opinion leader, but I don't know if I've done enough." And I said, well, tell me what your story is. And she said, we grew up in poverty and there's me and 6 other kids and it was a big family in a small house. And I knew that it was stressful and there was always financial worries and I had to do something about this. So I decided as a very young girl that I would become an accountant because I loved numbers. I loved maths at school. And I thought this would be a way of me working out how to get our family into a better future. And then, of course, I discovered that I'd have to go to university to study to become an accountant. And there's no way my family could afford to put one of us, let alone any of us, through university. So I then thought, well, okay, plan B, what I'll do is I'll go to McDonald's and I'll start work at McDonald's after school. I have a part-time job and I'll work there until I've earned enough to put myself through university to become an accountant. She never left McDonald's and she now owns 12 of them.
Oh, wow.
And she was on the phone telling me she didn't think she'd done enough to be worthy of awards. So look, even the most successful of us can think we haven't done enough. I think we often fall into that trap, Rose, of comparisonitis. And we compare ourselves too often to other people and on their journeys and what it looks like that they've got, which we all know what things look like and what they're like in real life, 2 completely different things. So that comes up a lot, I'm not sure if I've done enough compared to the rest of the people who I'm going to be up against and competing against. But also, I think there's also a very, very big myth that people seem to think with awards that you have to have had some massive success, some huge, 300% increase in profit or 500% bigger than you were last year, or some massive revenue. They don't realize that 90% of awards out there don't even ask you for your financials. 90%. Yes, there are industry awards where you have to probably talk about, like if you're a mortgage broker, it would be your book size, or a loan administrator, it'd be, how much money you've got under management, or if you're a gym, it might be how many members you have and how many PTs you've got on your team and so on. But it's not always that. There are awards out there for innovation, for startup, for thought leadership, for community, for charitable works, for being inventive, coming up with something brand new, or technology, or a new approach to something. So there's so many different awards out there. And I think the minute people understand that, their mind is just blown with the opportunity and the potential that there is out there.
I recently won an award for talking with the experts. I was awarded a podcast of the year for 2025. And yeah, I mean, I was like totally stoked that, I entered on a whim, thinking, well, I don't have the numbers behind me. I don't have, a lot of followers, but I have a few, regular listeners. And, I entered and I became a finalist. And I thought, wow, that was probably as far as I was going to go. Next thing I know, I've actually won the gold award, and I think, oh my goodness, how did this happen? And you're right, it's the feeling of, have I done enough? Have I got the numbers behind? But a lot of times, I think it's just the way that the application is written, and a well-written application can do a lot to get you into at least the finalist stage.
Yeah, absolutely. You're on the money there, Rose. I think I'm also an awards judge, so I get to see the back end of things a lot as well. And I think 50% of an award win is based on what you've actually achieved. So the impact you've had and, the results that you have. 50% of it is how you have told the judges, how you have explained that. How you have communicated this was the issue or the problem or the thing that I found that I wanted to change, and this is what I did, or this is how I adapted, or this is how the challenge brought me these opportunities, and this is what I did with it. So yeah, it's really 50% of it is how you put into your entry the metrics that matter, but the storytelling around showing the judges why you care and why it's so important to you and so on. Congratulations on that award as well, because I mean, even just going through the process of making yourself stop in the moment and review where you've come from and why you started the podcast or why you started your business or whatever it is that you're thinking of entering for, and looking at what you've achieved, that's a big win in itself. And I think a lot of people look at awards and they have that question, oh, I don't know if I've done enough. What they really mean is, I don't know if I've done enough to win. And is it worth entering if I'm not going to win? Because I think also that tall poppy syndrome that we have, especially here in Australia and New Zealand, a little bit in Europe as well, nowhere near as much in America. In America, they don't care. They really don't care what other people think of them. We arrived there once for the Stevie Awards for Women in Business, and it's held in New York, and it just happened to have been the New York Marathon that weekend. And everyone is walking around. We arrived on the Sunday of the marathon day. And everyone's walking around with their medallions, their medals from the marathon around on the outside of their jackets because it's winter, it's cold. But they didn't just wear them for like the day. They were all week. There were people still out in public with this medal around their necks. Now, my husband's run 2 marathons. I've been with people who've run marathons in Australia. They don't do that. They run the marathon, the medal gets put around their neck, they get a photograph, and the medal comes off and gets put in the pocket, and put on a shelf somewhere at home. Whereas in America, no, they want it to be known. I've just done this amazing thing. I've achieved this goal. I've done this thing, and I'm going to damn well prove, to everybody that I'm worthy of wearing this medal for weeks, let alone hours. So I think the whole tall poppy syndrome also stops us from entering into awards because we might not win. And really, we seem to think the only time we can shout about an award is if we win. So we don't think about, what if I can I leverage this just for being a nominee? Can I leverage this for being a finalist or a non-finalist or a non-winner, as well as the accolades of being the winner? Because we all think that you're a loser if that's the case, Whereas what I've seen from looking at the way awards work, and I'm sure you would have been to a Oscar-nominated movie at some stage in your life. You would have all watched one or streamed or whatever, right?
Absolutely.
Now, it didn't matter to you that it didn't win the Oscar. Often, sometimes the ones that do win the Oscars are really weird and they're not as good as the ones that were nominated anyway. There's all that, stuff goes on. But we still buy an award-nominated bottle of wine when we're going out to a dinner party. It might have a bronze award. It doesn't always need the gold award. So you can leverage the whole process of entering the awards. It's not just about the winning. And I think that's also what holds people back is what if I don't win, and then am I going to look like a fool? And that makes it really hard to get through that mindset as well.
Yeah, I didn't enter to win necessarily. I just wanted to enter to get the podcast out there and another avenue for me to leverage. But to become a finalist and then a winner, I mean, I was happy just to be a nominee, to be honest. But regardless of whether I nominated myself or not, and that's
you've got the right mindset around it, Rose. That it's not about, hey, I need to win this for credibility. I just want another way of leveraging the fact that my podcast exists. It's had great track record. It's had great interviews. I've done some great guests on it. It's being listened to. It's a value. And here's a little stamp of approval that I can get, regardless of whether I win, to have another reason to talk about it. So your mindset's different to the majority of people who are sort of, what if I don't win? What if I look like a fool? All that sort of stuff that goes on.
Now, let me talk about strategic selection and crafting. How do we pinpoint the right awards and develop those entries that really impress the judges?
Yeah, good question, Rose, because I think it's funny as well when people suddenly realise how many awards there are out there, it can become very overwhelming, can't it? In fact, I think we've got over 300 listed that we know all about, and we have all the questions and we have all the information about. But there's way more than that out there. There's an award out there for trench digging. If you dig trenches, there's an award for that as well. So there's awards for everything. So yes, it can become very, very overwhelming. The first step I would suggest is what we just talked about in reality. Why do you want to win the award? What's the leverage? What are you going to do with it? What sort of reputation do you want your podcast to have? So you might have gone for a particular category. So if it was podcast awards, and then that's broken down into interview styles, business, relationships, all these different categories you might get.
Yeah, I'd want for business.
Business, yeah, you'd go business, and you'd go business impact or business ideas or whatever, and you'd really hone down into finding which awards are going to enable you to leverage it. So there are awards out there like the Osmumpreneurs if you're a mum and you're in business, and business is sort of something that you're running on the side of being a mum, then they're awesome to go for. But if you're a woman who's a mum but you happen to be in big business, or you're an international consultant or a podcast host, whatever, you want to really think about what award could I use to leverage my profile and get that credibility and visibility. So is it Entrepreneur of the Year? Is it Change Maker of the Year, or Thought Leadership, or Giving Back, or maybe it's around coaching or mentoring or women helping women, or inspiring others, or leading communities, or it could be around your personal journey. There's a lot of award categories out there that are around like that sort of phoenix rising from the ashes, resilience and so on. So there's lots of those categories as well. And if you've just written a book all about your life story and how you dealt with a challenging time, or you've got a podcast where it's all about resilience and so on, then yeah, you'd be looking for those specific awards and categories that you could absolutely maximize based on what they're for. Pointless going for a category that you're not going to be able to talk about, and something that isn't really going to build your profile. It's just nice to have maybe a couple of them if you want to do that. That's fine. That's awesome. But if you really want to leverage them to build a profile, it's thinking about the long-term effects of what you're doing.
Yeah,
and then in terms of the submission, because you said as well, how do you make sure your submission is spot on as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really basic, really. Read the questions. Read exactly what it is that they want. And I would highlight or underline the key phrases in the question. So if they're asking specifically for, give us an overview of what your business is all about. So in that, they're not asking you, give us your life story or tell us why you're in business. They're saying, give us an overview of your business. And that's exactly what they want. In a snapshot, probably 50 or 100 words, what is your business all about? And it might be that it was founded out of a challenge or whatever, or, an innovation. And this is what it does, and this is who it helps. They just want to give an idea. Some of them will start with, tell us why you started your business. And that's more of a personal story about your journey as an entrepreneur. Sometimes they'll just cut straight into, okay, give us your achievements in the last 12 months. What have you done? So the real key to making sure that your award entry sings is really nailing the answer to that question and making sure you, even after you've written it a few times, go back and reread the question. Am I answering the question? And then blending really engaging storytelling that's personal. It's about you. It's not just created by ChatGTP as a boring old vanilla entry. It's your story and weaving in those metrics that matter. So really highlighting what is the problem that you are out to solve, or what was the challenge and how did you do that? And really showing the judges, not just telling them what the impact has been, either on you or your business or your team or your listeners, and what it's done for them. So it's really a nice way to get quite concise about what you've been doing in business. Isn't it awesome as well, Rose? You would have experienced this when you're writing yours. It forces you to look back at what you've achieved and to really concisely put that into a piece of information that you know a judge would love.
And the point being too, when you're looking back on the achievements that you've done, you think, you often think to yourself, I haven't achieved much. But when you start writing them down, your achievements really are a lot broader or a lot more than what you thought they were in the initial writing of your application. So it really does make you sit and appreciate and be grateful for the little things that have happened along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny, isn't it, when you go back through your diary and you go, oh, I did that. Oh, and that happened. Oh, and I remember that. And the thing I learned from it. And all that stuff that I think women are specifically bad at it, Rose. We're very focused on the now and the tomorrow and the planning for the next phase. And we don't stop to reflect on where we come from. And, when you start doing that, like you're saying, you list out all these things you've achieved, it's like, you're in like the top 5%. Not everybody does this. Not everybody. How many episodes of your podcast do you have now?
635. And I'm in the top 5% of global podcasts, and there's over 3 million podcasts. So
so that's extraordinary to be able to do that. So good on you. It's fantastic.
Absolutely. How do we get the confidence to shine, Lauren? What actionable techniques can we use to overcome self-promotion anxieties and embrace that recognition that we've been talking about?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Rose, because I think it is ingrained. That whole tall poppy syndrome is so insidious. It just creeps into every level of business. I think the thing we need to change first is our mindset around what it means to be in business. In reality, your job as a business owner is to promote yourself, is to promote you as the leader, to promote your business, your products or your services. No one's ever going to do it as well as you do because you actually care. You started this thing. It's like having a baby, isn't it? When you have a business, you actually care about it growing up and everything that's involved with it. Yes, you can delegate, absolutely delegate tasks, outsource your marketing, all that sort of stuff. It's important to make sure you focus as a business owner. But I think the minute you change your mindset around awards not being, I want to shine a light on me, I want to shine a light on what I've achieved. I want to shine a light on the team, on the innovation that we have, on the impact that it's making or the potential it's got, on the book I wrote or the program I created or the people who've been through my program and the way that it's changed their lives. The minute that it becomes an us and a we rather than an I, then I think you're starting to take a bit more of a helicopter view of what your business is even here for. And even if you're a solopreneur, if it is just you and you don't have a team, really think about you as an influencer or a key opinion leader and the impact that you have on the wider world. That's the purpose for going into awards. It isn't necessarily about big noting yourself. It's about making sure that people know about what you do, that they are aware of the impact that you can create for them, and that you're given the opportunity to at least be heard. Because when it comes to credibility and visibility, there's so much fake stuff out there, Rose, and it's getting, with AI, oh my goodness, it's just getting worse and worse to figure out who's fake and who's not. All these AI influencers showing up to Wimbledon that don't actually exist and having these social media accounts with all these followers and they don't even exist, and it's so hard. When you're really aligned with what you do, when you're heart-centered and you are doing something because you're so passionate and so purposeful around it, that's bigger than you. That's a legacy you're creating, right? And I think if you can concentrate on that and talk about the fact that what you're doing is worthy of being recognized, of being credible, of being believable, of being visible, and certainly of being something of value out there. And in reality, if you don't do it, somebody else who's not got anywhere near the expertise or experience that you have, just because they're better on TikTok or they're better on Instagram, they'll get out there and they'll win your audience over. So, you can't just it's not, I think it was, what's his name, Cardone, who said this. He says, it's not the best that wins, it's the best known.
Yes.
You've just got to be the best known. If you're really good at what you do and you know you're good at it, and you've got competitors out there and you're going, how come they're getting all the limelight? They're winning all these awards. We do way better than they do. It's because you're not actively putting yourself forward for those sorts of accolades. And the minute you change your mindset around it to do with creating a legacy rather than just being, egotistical, it changes everything.
Absolutely. My passion project, Healing Through Love, where we do the Pamper Days for domestic violence survivors, actually won an award recently. We didn't even nominate for it. We were just put up for it by the organisation. And so we are ambassadors for this particular thing. And for the life of me, my brain's gone absolute to mush. So, but yeah, and we were surprised by the fact that, our Pamper Days, and when we know they make a difference, but for someone to be recognised on an international level was absolutely amazing. So
Brilliant.
It was, something that we didn't take lightly, that's for sure. But and sometimes you just need to put yourself out there. You're right, and don't worry
about it. It's that effect, isn't it? Like you say, you might Pamper Days, local Pamper Days, you think they're such a small thing on a global scale, but that little drop in the ocean that you are creating, it just creates these ripples that reach out and reach out. And there's so many people, I know we've helped people win awards even before they've launched their businesses, just for the concept of what they're doing. And I'm talking with someone at the moment, and she's just got a completely different approach to positioning yourself as a leader and what she's doing with her whole unique way of looking at, career development and everything else. And it will make such a difference to so many workplaces and so many leaders. And all she needs is those little drops in the ocean that create those ripples. And that's all you need to get seen and noticed.
And that leads us into leveraging our mastery, doesn't it? There is a comprehensive framework for maximising every stage of our award journey. So how do we guarantee that visibility and return on effort?
Yeah, great question, because it is a huge effort. You've got to stop, what you're doing and put all this together, write your entries, submit it, support documents and so on. The big thing I find is it probably could be anywhere from 3 to 6, maybe even 12 months before an award actually gets announced. So there's a long period of waiting to see what happens. And that's probably the worst strategy you could take, is just get your submission in and forget about it. And I know that's probably what most people want to do. But what you should be doing is the minute you submit your entry, you should be starting to promote the fact that you're in. So putting out something around the fact that, I've just nominated, or I've just submitted our submission. Thank you to the people who nominated us, or you can self-nominate. It really doesn't matter. Get out there and talk about, the courage it took to do that and what you learned through the process of going back and reviewing where you'd come from and the challenges you've overcome. Recognise your team, recognise your clients, talk about the awards themselves and that process and how you felt going through it and what you learned and so on. So you can talk all about that and the stages in business that everybody know about. So it's just nice to talk about something that's really relevant for your audience as well. So share your story from the minute you submit. And then the next thing it'll be, they announce finalists. Absolutely. If you didn't become a finalist, you still put in there, hey, look, we didn't get through, but I'm really proud of what we've achieved, and pull out some little bits from that amazing entry that you've just spent all that time and money and investment in creating, and use that in newsletters and social media posts and so on. So you're sharing a little bit about where you've come from and what you're most proud of achieving and the challenges you've overcome. It's funny, isn't it, Rose? Sometimes the most engaging posts are the most vulnerable ones, the ones where we're sharing where we're not perfect and we're not, doing what most people would call success. And that's a cool thing that happens when you go through the awards process, is you're starting to talk about, 2 years ago, we were here and we were really digging deep and we were struggling, or we were doing really well, and then this happened and we fell off a cliff and COVID and, increased costs and whatever. Sharing your vulnerable story is a really great way of engaging with your audience, because you've got to be relatable in business. Yes, you've got to be the expert that people look up to and they will go to and trust, but you also need to be human. So sharing a journey, regardless of whether you're a nominee, a finalist, a non-finalist, a winner, a non-winner, doesn't matter. And then definitely people ask me, is it worth attending the awards events? They often have these fabulous gala events. Again, what you've got to think about with awards is they're just part of your marketing. They're part of your whole marketing budget. So you've got to allow for entry fees, you've got to allow for travel and accommodation and a nice dress that you might want to go and buy, which is lovely. You build up quite a nice wardrobe when you go to awards. But yeah, so it is a really cool thing to be able to stand on the red carpet with your team or with your family or your supporters and recognise what it's taken to get there. And just for a moment, recognise, the effort that you've put into your business or your podcast or your book, whatever it is, and take that moment to reflect. And we always suggest, regardless of the outcome on the night, you should always record an acceptance speech. So if you normally you get to stage, you can give an acceptance speech and they're normally recorded and you can repurpose them, which is great. But even if you don't, take yourself a little, your headset or these things, your earbuds, because they've got microphones on them as well, pop them in, get some good sound or a little lapel mic, plug it into your phone and just say, look, we didn't win tonight, and then give your speech, how proud you are of what you've achieved, exactly what you would have said on stage if you had won the award. Share that and capture that moment, because just the branding by association of even just being at the awards can level up people's opinion of you and of your brand and of your business. So I know the lovely Matt Alderton, I don't know if you know of him, he started up the BX networking. That's an international networking, and he's got the BX awards. He told me once, he's a Telstra judge and an Australian small business champion judge, and we were chatting away. And he said when he ran a Subway franchise, they went to the big gala dinner. Now, his team wasn't up for an award, but they'd gone anyway because it's just a nice way to celebrate the team. And he's sitting there at the table, they're all dressed up, suits and ties and, all the rest of it. And he grabs the centerpiece off the table. It was like this really interesting creative light display thing lit up with a battery. And he held it and got someone to take a photograph of him. And he just put a post on social media with the photograph, so proud of my team, awesome to be here at the awards night, celebrating everyone's success, been a wonderful year, blah, 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 and went post. And within about a minute, he had people coming back, oh, congratulations on winning your award and how awesome it is. He was just holding the centerpiece from the table, right? So just to be there, just to be associated with award winners is enough to level up your credibility in people's eyes and for them to think, oh, you're being, you're recognizing your team, which is really cool. So yeah, acceptance speech, go to the galas, network like crazy, make the most of it, and then do a Stephen Bradbury. I don't know if you remember Stephen Bradbury, Rose, 2002. Won a gold Olympic medal at ice speed skating for not falling over, basically. Everybody else fell over, and then he sailed through and picked up his medal. He still talks about it today. He's got a book, Last Man Standing. He's got a business. He's got a beer brand, Last Man Standing, a lager. And he stands on stage and talks about resilience. To this day, he gets booked to speak. That's over 20 years that he won this gold medal. So what was the learning you got out of the award that you won that you can turn into something you can repurpose over and over and over again, a message or a learning or a lesson or an aspect of your brand and your business that you can keep sharing? Absolutely, leverage it forever.
Yeah, no, I've put the little crest on everything I could think of, or it's at the bottom of my podcast show notes and everything, because I'm so proud of myself for winning it. I couldn't go to the award ceremony because it was up at Yeppoon and it just was out of my budget. But I'm planning on going to Melbourne next year. That's my dream for
brilliant.
next 12 months. So I really want to go to that. Whether I enter again, I'm a bit iffy about, um, but I'm definitely going to try and go to the awards next year. I think
Yeah.
just for the fact that I want to give back to the awards in some way that I think they've given to me, so I want to give back. That's just the way I am.
Yeah, and it's an amazing community. The people that I've met at these awards events, and every time I go to the Australian Small Business Champion Awards. They've now got 3 or 4 of them every year. It used to just be one. So it's starting to get a bit expensive to go to them all, but it's always the same people come and say hello, and we get together again and, just talking about what business is like and supporting each other. It's such a great network of people if you are in that awards space, because they seem to be people who genuinely celebrate success. Do you know what I mean? They're not constantly wanting to pull each other down. It's that whole idea of a rising tide lifts all ships. And that's such an awesome environment to be in.
Absolutely. Now, if you want to find out more about Lauren or how you can help, how she can help you into more awards, you can find her on LinkedIn, on Facebook, the AudaciousAgency.com. You have a quiz, Are You Award Ready, out on the AudaciousAgency.com website, and you want to promote Get a Plan. What is that all about, Lauren?
Absolutely. So yes, so on the website, if you're still not sure and you've been listening to this going, oh, yeah, would sound good, but I'm still not sure. Yeah, the quiz is really awesome because it asks you a series of quick questions, and then it'll give you a rating of gold, silver, or bronze. And either rating you get, it'll give you a downloadable guide to work out, okay, I'm at bronze, how do I get to silver? How do I improve my chances of winning? And then if you're at gold, that chances are you've entered some awards and maybe got through to finalists. It'll give you some tips on how to really leverage that to become more of a winner. So all those different levels, depending on where you're at, will give you those guides on what you need to do to get yourself ready for awards and how to prepare yourself for winning and so on, and how to leverage. So yeah, so the quiz is awesome. It's totally free. You can do it and download and go for your life. But if you get to that point, which most people do, where they start to go, oh, okay, you've convinced me, I think I need to look at awards. How do I find out what awards are out there? The first thing that normally happens is they go Google business awards for small business in Australia, and all of a sudden it's just like pages and pages and pages of all these awards that are out there. And choosing the right ones can often be really difficult. And people fall into the trap, Rose, of, I call it Telstra trauma. So Telstra are amazing awards. We won the Telstra Awards last year for Accelerating Women in Queensland. It's an amazing process they take you through. They get about 20 or 30,000 people start off with the Telstra Awards because they're free to enter, and it starts off as just ticking boxes. Yes, I've got an ABN. Yes, this is my size of my business, blah, blah, blah. And then there's a massive drop-off because stage 2, if you get through, is to write a 1,500-word essay. And people go, oh, no, I'm going to do all this work. So there's a massive drop-off. And then at each stage, people drop off because now you've got to record videos and you've got to, have all this other stuff required and so on. And so they try the Telstras once and it's quite traumatic, and they go, oh, I didn't get anywhere, I'm going to give up, that's it. So I call it Telstra trauma because that's the one where it happens the most, where people drop off because they discover it's a lot of work. And if they don't win, they go, wasn't worth it. Yeah. Never rest your laurels on one award, right? You just can't hang your hat on one award. You need a strategic approach to it, because we never suggest going for those awards where you pay to win. And I've got emails almost daily from people going, congratulations, you've been named as the female leader of the year in Australasia who's got blonde hair, who works in branding. Do you know what I mean? And by the way, it's going to cost you $2,500 to get your trophy. Yeah. It's just, then you can't leverage those. They don't have any integrity. So we never work with awards that guarantee a win. So what you want to do is you want to be looking at what awards are out there every month that are opening, and you'll find them that I could be going for, and which specific categories would I have the best opportunity for, not just in terms of winning, but in terms of leveraging and making sure I could then repurpose that and use that to raise my profile. With the plan, we map that out with you. So we have an interview with you. We go through exactly what your unique profile position is, gives us a really good idea of which awards to look for. And then we go and we find a year's worth of awards and we map it all out for you. So this is when they open, this is the categories, this is the entry fees, here's the link to go and enter and so on. We also then map out a 12-month marketing plan. So how are you going to leverage those awards over the next 12 months as well? And then we also include a list of media that are always looking for articles from people that you can start to raise your profile with, and contributor sites, but also podcasts that are looking for guests as well. Because as you grow your we call it the snowball effect. As you start to enter awards and get a bit of traction, then people start to notice you and they want you on their podcasts and they want you to come and speak at their events and so on. So we put that whole plan together, and it's a 12-month plan, costs $997, so $1,000. It's not a huge investment, but once you've got it, you can then either implement it yourselves or we can help you with doing your writing for you and everything else as well. But the plan is a really cool way of just calmly mapping out what the potential is with awards out there so that you know when all the deadlines are, and it's not a mad panic to, go, oh my goodness, I've been nominated, quick, I've got 24 hours to get an entry in, and then never leveraging it.
Absolutely. Lauren, it has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing how we can get into awards, how we can leverage them for our businesses, and the steps that we need to take to stop feeling small and get out there and be audacious.
Yeah, absolutely, because you deserve it. Gosh, we work so hard. If you're the world's best kept secret, you need to think about how do you get out there in the spotlight, because you deserve to be well known, well paid and wanted. It's just as simple as that. Absolutely. Thanks again, Lauren.
You've been listening to Talking with the Experts, hosted by Rose Davidson. Make sure you have a look at our back catalogue over at talkingwiththeexperts.com. And be sure to subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss out on any episode. We look forward to your company next time.